welcome to Michigan Life Above the 45th Parallel. I'm Clarissa.
And I'm Jason.
And in today's video, we are going to be doing a little introduction to us, to the channel, to our goals, and to what we've already accomplished.
Yep. Quick little brief summary video, just kind of catch you up, familiarize yourself with our channel and what we're about and what we hope to accomplish soon. So let's sit back, relax on this rainy day on the property, if you haven't noticed in the background.
Yep.
And let's do a little chit chat.
So I'm Clarissa. My dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and so when I started off school, I was pretty much a military brat. And then we moved to Michigan, and when we got to Michigan, he got out of the military, and we would go up north a lot. We would end up, my grandpa owned property that we developed, that they developed. And then my dad ended up with 5 acres of it, and we've helped him do stuff there. But growing up in the military ended up making it to where we have a little bit more of that go do it kind of mentality. But I ended up married the first time. I was married for 11 years. I had 3 children. Ended up divorced. And I met Jason. We ended up getting married, and things started going a lot better for us, my children and I, after that. But I became a dental hygienist. When we met, I was actually a photographer. So I did photography for 10 years. And then when we got together, I went back to college and became a dental hygienist, and ended up getting into that career, and I've gone pretty successful with that for the last about 15 years. And then we ended up getting together in 2006. So, and my kids' ages, they're 31, 29, and 20. And then I do have also 2 granddaughters as well. And they're our granddaughters, really. And we've raised my 20-year-old together completely. So that's, but that's about me in a nutshell. I'm a hard worker. I try to do the best that I can. I'm nice. I try not to say mean things to people. The way that I figure it, if people can be mean for no reason, I can be nice for no reason. So that's how I try to live my life.
So I'm Jason. I'm in my mid-40s. I grew up as a military brat as well. I actually had multiple generations of my family have been in the military. So proud American. Grew up with that military lifestyle. Grew up as a Boy Scout. As a little kid, I went through, Cub Scouts and Webelos and Boy Scouts. Played a lot of sports growing up. And then when I was younger, I moved around a lot in the military. I was in a little longer than I think she was as far as being a kid. So I always moved around a lot and had to meet new people all the time and kind of fit in. So I always consider myself a chameleon in life. And but I always had a love for outdoors. Growing up, when we finally came back to Michigan, where my family's originally from, used to go up north a lot. So I've always been in love with the outdoors, and that's when I got with Clarissa, and her family had property in this area. It was easy for us to fall in love with the area. So that's a little background of me. I'm working in the automotive industry. I've been doing that for about 13 years. I'd say I'm pretty successful in that. And I think together we've worked well together. Both growing up with that military background, that kind of, like she said, work hard, put your head down, work hard. Try not to complain too much, And I always say be a solution, not part of the problem. So I think we just work well together. We bounce ideas off each other. She's more creative. I'm more of the kind of hard work, planning type of person. So we made a great team. We've been pretty successful, and I think that's kind of gotten us where we are today.
Yep.
So it's a little background of us, so you get to know us a little more.
So pretty early on during our relationship, we would go up north to my parents' property, and we ended up helping them. They didn't build anything for the first about
10 years probably.
at least 10 to 12 years of our relationship. They didn't build anything. They just had the garage, water, and electricity there.
Because they had bought property, because her parents or grandparents had owned a bunch of chunks of property in the area.
Yep, and that was the main property that my grandpa had owned.
Different people in her family had, bought or claimed different chunks of the property.
And that 5 acres was my dad's.
Yeah.
So,
and they already previously had built a garage on it. They had a septic field put in. There was power on it.
Yep.
And they had their own shallow well there, so they had water source. So they had converted the garage into kind of living quarters, and they go up there, and we just hang out on the property.
Yep. Play with the 4-wheeler, have bonfires, just regular, just
clean up the woods,
camping.
maintain stuff.
Yeah.
And they always had a plan to finally build a retirement home up there.
Yep. My dad had actually gotten a bank had ended up being tore down in Lake Orion, down in Oakland County in Michigan.
Yep.
And he ended up somehow talking to the guy and got all the bricks from this bank, and he saved them for 30 years and ended up, that's what he put on this house that he built on that 5 acres. And they went through and did everything.
Like, he had planned this for a long time.
Yeah, everything is debt free. They paid for it as they did it. It did take them 5 years to build their house, but and I do have a little kind of a thing of that, which I put together from pictures and whatnot over the years.
It's a little time-lapse video of kind of the build.
And you could see that build if you'd like. But that's what our inspiration was, is we were a part of that through that whole process. And
we pitched in to help at different portions of it. And
then we started realizing that, we're actually getting close to our 40s, we're getting, I'm already 40, he's 5 years younger than me. So it ended up... We're both in our
40s now, but back then, we were trying to think ahead. We didn't want to wait till we were in our 50s
because they did
to start the process. We wanted to start it a little sooner.
When they were in their 50s, in their late 50s is when they started building.
Yep.
So we wanted to make it to where, and we saw how hard it was for them and how much help they needed from, us and others.
Family members and other friends. And
so don't get me wrong, we need help too.
And they did a lot of work. Like, Eric did a ton of work on that himself.
Oh my gosh, he's a very hard worker.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that they're doing.
So
but that made us want to do it. Yep. So
and then growing up, when we were small, I read My Side of the Mountain was a big influence to me, and the Boy Scout thing, and me growing up being with on family property, and the thumb of the Michigan is where I used to go, and then we have family on near Alpena that's got property over in that area, and Lost Lake, so our family's been all over Michigan, and we have rich family history here, and outdoors, so it kind of blended well, and then watching them, it just kind of all lined up, and we fell in love with that area, that we're in now. So we started looking for a few years at different properties, kind of poking around.
Yeah, just looking,
and we never really found anything that, felt right or, hit all the checks we were kind of looking for. And then, in our relationship, I kind of touched base earlier, I'm the one, I'll do a lot of research. I'll, look into things for a long time, find good deals, try and find ways.
He researches something to the finest detail.
And I'll do it for weeks, months sometimes until I find the price range I want, or the information I'm looking for, or I don't know, whatever answer I'm looking for. So.
And he was looking for property.
And I could never really find the property.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, she's the one that actually was searching around.
Let me go. One day we were up here with my parents, and it was in May. I think it was actually Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, and it was during COVID.
Yep. And I was like, screw it, let's see what we can find. And we ended up finding this one. We came over and looked at it, fell in love, and we bought it.
I feel like it was the fell in love at first sight thing. I knew as soon as I walked in the property, it felt like home.
Yep.
It was exactly what we want. It was literally untouched. 10-acre untouched woods, nothing on it, completely vacant.
Yep.
Lots of hardwoods. We got little patches of cedar on here. It was just a blank slate, and it just felt perfect.
Yeah, felt right.
Yep, and the price was right. Everything was just lined up perfect. And we ended up purchasing the property in 2020.
Yep.
And that was a big dream of ours. We talked about it for a long time. So that was a huge compliment just to find the property and purchase it.
Yep.
So then
cool. We ended up...
That was a big moment for us.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah. That was a pretty cool moment. So that was 2020.
Yeah.
So now in 2020, we've gotten the property, and at that point, like our dream is starting to, formulate. We're starting to realize our dream a little bit. We know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but like we wanted, at our whole beginning goals and like reason for starting the property was basically to be debt free when we moved up here and do the whole process debt free, because we're trying to get away from that lifestyle downstate where we're just working, just rat race, chasing your tail, just chasing debt and like paying bills, and it's like we're trying to get away from that. So we want to be debt free. We want to be off grid's a big thing for us. We want to be self sufficient. You never know what happens in the future. If we can have our own water source, we can have our own septic field, we can have our own solar power, stuff like that. Grow our own gardens, maybe some small scale farm animals as far as like chickens, maybe a goat or something. We want to be able to self sustain. It's kind of an end goal of ours. So that's kind of like the all encompassing what our property is going to be. We are weekend warriors because we do have our property downstate that we live in. We both work our full-time jobs. Still trying to work on that, paying off all the debt and being debt free. So we come up here on the weekends and we work all week, come up Friday night. We do as much work as we can on the weekends, head back down Sunday night.
Go to work Monday through Friday, rinse and repeat.
And we do it a lot year round because we're in Northern Michigan and we are at the 45th parallel is kind of part of our name. So that's like a cutoff where like more harsh winters, more snowfall, lower temps. But we're right at that border, so we're not like in like, the Arctic in Alaska or like the deep tundra of like Canada. Like it's not that bad, but like Northern Michigan, the UP,
we do get a lot of snow, and
we
it
can't
does
get
get
deep
cold.
snow. We get a lot of lake effect snow. It does get pretty cold up here. So our season up here, because we don't live up here full time, we don't come up into deep winters. Our season's only from April to basically like October, November.
April, May.
April. Sometimes it's May.
And
sometimes it'll be all the way up until like December we can get up here. So like the season kind of fluctuates, but we have a kind of a 6-month window in a way.
Yeah, really we only have that, really the spring to fall. Like maybe most of the time
last winter was pretty mild, so we got a little later. But a couple winters before, it was like harsher up. So your seasons kind of shift depending on the weather.
Yeah, like in 22, we had 2 foot of snow on Christmas.
Yeah. So like we were shut
year,
out.
there was no snow.
There's been years where we shut down in October around Halloween because the freeze starts. And since this isn't a 4-weather RV, we don't want to like damage the RV because we want to keep this for a while to be able to stay in while we're up here. So we try. We
still have a lot of building to do.
We try and be proactive with shutting this down a little early just so we don't incur damage with it over the winter. So we're weekend warriors. We don't get a ton of time on the property. We do try and plan out like a week or two at some point in the year where we can stay up here for a prolonged period of time and kind of accomplish some big goals.
We always spend at least one 10-day section up here.
Each year is kind of a goal of ours, plus the weekend. So that's a little. We're not here full time. We wish we could be. Once we finally get some things in place on the property, once we get that free, once we get to the point where we can live up here comfortably 4 seasons and still be able to accomplish work and be at that debt-free point in our lives where we can do that financially, then we will be. But until then, we just call ourselves weekend warriors. So that's a little background on that. And then I think next we could go over maybe like each year what our goals are or what we've accomplished each year, because this is now 2024 and we did buy it in 2020. So we kind of have 4 years of accomplishments up to this point.
Which they were huge to us because we've been doing this on really pennies.
We've been doing it on our own dime. We've been doing most of the work by ourselves with equipment we buy and own.
Or rent.
We haven't really rented any equipment.
Anything yet.
We probably will in the future. We've had a little bit of help over the years, and we'll touch base with that. We've had some family help. We've had some friends help.
Muscle help.
Up to this point today, we've literally paid nobody to do any work in the property. It's all been 100% us.
We have paid for some loads of rock to
Yeah,
get
there's a
dropped
few
off.
things that we'll touch base on that, but
Yeah.
you know, we've had people drop things off in the property that we've paid for, but we've never had anyone, we've never paid someone money to come and do work for us.
Yeah.
So we've prided ourselves in that so far.
Yeah.
We think that's pretty cool, but at some point in the property
We're
in the
gonna need
future,
help.
we're going to be paying people to do certain things on the property that we can't do ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go throughout the years, we'll touch base on all that stuff.
Yep. So when we bought the property in 2020, we didn't really have a whole heck of a lot. We ended up having a pop-up camper that we would stay at over at my mom and dad's because they had the garage that they were staying in. They were building their house. It wasn't done yet. And they had, my Uncle Billy was staying up there. It was too many people to comfortably be able to stay there too, so we ended up having a pop-up that we would utilize over there. And then we wanted to bring it over here, but
it was an old 90s pop-up. It was basically a dry shelter off the ground. It had the water didn't work, the heat didn't work. Power was running extension cord through the little canvas.
Yep.
And like that was it.
We spent $500.
It was better than tents.
Yeah.
It worked.
We were off the ground
for the beginning.
That was about it.
We used it for little camping trips here and there, but yeah, it was
But while we were doing that, we would stay there and we would come over here in the morning and we would start cutting trees. And we ended up getting pretty darn close to the end of the driveway.
We were cutting a driveway because it was a blank slate, like we said before. So there was nothing here. So at the main road, like we couldn't access our property from the main road. Little side note, we do have a gas pump on the back corner of our property, a natural gas pump up here, old well, that has we have access. They have granted access on our property and our neighbors with a little side road to get to it to maintain it.
Which is at our back.
It's our back corner of the property.
3 acres. And it's kind of right.
So we kind of had access through our neighbor's property to the gas pump, but we get to this circle that they had maintained for years, and then it was just wood. So we had to like cut our own driveway.
There was a kind of a path.
Yeah, years ago, someone came through here and select cut a bunch of huge cedars we had on the property, and I'm thinking this was decades ago.
Yeah.
So there was still kind of like this old kind of 2-track where you could tell like an excavator came through or a tree cutting machine came through.
So we ended up having a lot of like
so we had a little path
that
kind of through there.
Ended up cutting down.
Yep.
It was a little easier. We did the path of least resistance.
Yep.
And we ended up getting our driveway cut. And
with
we
the
ended
chainsaw, me and her.
Yep. Yep. And then at the end of the season of 2020 in October, his uncle came down with his tractor, and we ended up
we broke through at the very end of the year to the main road.
Yep. So we ended up having some gravel dropped, and his uncle came over with his tractor. He lives in the UP, and he helped us make that end of the driveway happen. And then we ended up putting the start of our gate down there,
and then sunk the post at the end of the year.
Yeah, we sunk the posts, and then
that was it for 2020. We pretty much got the property.
We ended up putting the
cut our own driveway for 2020. I basically made it to the very end. My uncle helped us with the entrance.
And we installed the gate at the end.
Yep, we installed the gate.
Because it wasn't that we were actually staying up here, and there was a little tiny bit of snowiness here and there. Like
at the end of the year.
Yeah, that when we were putting up the gate.
Dustings.
And we had our winter jackets on and everything.
It was definitely end of the year, but for our first...
There is a video of that.
Yep. For our first year on the property owning it, 2020 was pretty successful. Because we purchased it, we got our driveway in, my uncle helped out with his tractor, and we got a gate in. So we had a start to our property in 2020. Yep. We felt pretty accomplished doing it all by ourselves.
Oh my gosh, we were elated. We're like, oh,
it was literally us with a chainsaw every weekend we could get up here.
Yep.
Just working our butts off in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah. And the footage isn't great because we were doing it all with our camera phones. You know, it was...
This was literally pre-YouTube journey.
Yes.
So we were just filming everything with the camera.
Yep.
So 2020 was a great start to our property. And then 2021, we decided at the beginning of the year that we wanted to purchase ourselves a new camper to stay in and upgrade from the pop-up. So that was a pretty big moment for us. She actually surprised me one day and just called me at the end of work. I was like, hey,
guess what I did?
What do you think about this camper? And I was like, what? Because we'd been talking about it. And she pretty much said, come on down and we're going to sign on the dotted line. So I checked it out and I was like, heck yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a while. So that was
we got a good deal on this too.
Yeah, pretty cool start to 21. She got the RV squared away, so we have a nice place to stay on the property now, not having to go over to her parents.
And then he ended up looking up and found.
I was thinking over the winter, because that's the cool part about the way we're doing it. We have the winters off, so we have a couple month section of the year to plan, think ahead, what upgrades do we need, what's going to help us out next year, what's our next goal. So it's kind of a blessing in a way. We get to relax, get some R&R and plan. So I thought over the winter, I started looking for a tractor. I thought if we got a piece of equipment up here, now that we've cut the driveway, if we had a piece of equipment that can flatten out the driveway.
How his uncle's tractor, we were like,
yes,
we need a tractor.
Like, man, we need one of those.
Yeah, doesn't matter, we'll use it all the time.
Financially, we can't afford a brand new one. Would be super sweet, so I'm always trying to find deals. Again, I'm the researcher guy. I'm always looking at auctions, looking for deals, what's for sale. Just know a market price so that I can kind of know what the price ranges are. I end up finding a good tractor. She's an oldie but a goodie. She's a mid-70s International Harvester. Yeah. She's been a strong tractor. It came from a family farm. They bought it new. Yep. Got passed down 2 generations. And now the farm...
And it was in a barn all the time,
yeah,
too.
It was barn kept.
Yep.
So we purchased it and kept it on the property for a couple of weeks under a tarp. And I was feeling really bad because it's always barn kept and I wanted to maintain my equipment. I always try and maintain my stuff. So then shortly after purchasing the tractor and bringing it up here, we got a container for it. So when we first purchased the RV, we parked it out in the circle near the gas pump because we had no access except the driveway we cut. When we brought the tractor up, we ended up cutting a little spot in the woods off the beginning of the driveway from the circle and started our campsite. And we had just enough room to squeeze the RV in there, just enough room to park the tractor there, and that was about it. Then we got the container, brought some gravel in, expanded the campsite a little bit because I was getting better with the tractor, starting to get used to it at that point.
Yep.
So we expanded our campsite around 21. We created some water storage. We got some, things that we're going to use in the future on the property. Things that
bought a brand new chainsaw.
Yeah, bought a brand new chainsaw because the first year on the driveway we were using kind of an old used one I picked up, and we finally upgraded to a nice brand new one. That was a gift. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
from
and then
my father.
We finally picked out where our spot was going to be and started the clearing.
Yep. We picked out because we had a little campsite back here, but due to restrictions on our property, we do have a restriction where we can't build permanent structures within so many feet of the gas pump.
Yeah.
So our little campsite here is not permanent.
Yeah.
We're about half the distance from the gas pump, so we had to get deeper into the woods to be able to build our permanent structures that we wanted to in the future.
And we decided
so we picked out our clearing spot. And we kind of started our very beginning journey of doing the clearing. So 21 was a pretty big year. We did some upgrades, set our future spot where we want to do our permanent build, and just put in some more sweat equity, put in some more weekend warriors stuff on the weekends, and got a little ahead on our goals. Worked a little harder at them.
Yep.
So 2020,
and it was still not very many weekends.
No. So 21 was pretty successful. We did that year end up making a big trip out to Hawaii as well.
Yep.
To see the new grandbaby.
Yep.
It was our first time ever being in Hawaii.
Yep.
We never thought we'd ever make it, but this was still during COVID times.
Yeah, it was.
So prices were a little cheaper. There's a lot of restrictions to travel, so that was kind of a lot of hoops to jump through, but it was totally worth it. It was almost a once-in-a-lifetime trip, I say.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool.
So it was us and our daughter, and we all
brought our
three
youngest
got
with us.
Yeah.
I once saw the oldest and our new grandbaby.
Yep.
So that was amazing. So 2021 was an amazing year for the channel.
Yeah.
And still at this point...
Not for the channel.
Well, I was about to say for our property. I was about to say still at this point for the channel, we haven't even technically started YouTube at this point.
No.
We're still filming on cell phones. We're still just doing stuff for friends and family. Yeah. And just kind of documenting our journey ourselves for like family videos.
Yeah.
And like we haven't even started YouTube at this point.
Nope.
So... kind of crazy. We've gotten a lot accomplished at that point on the property, but we've really done nothing in the big scheme of things, but we have done things. And that's kind of a repeating theme for us on the channel. Each year, I feel like, at the end of the year, we've accomplished a lot of things, but then I'm like, man, I feel like the immense pressure and weight of all the things we still have to do to make it like a livable property. But each year with hard work, determination, we peck away at it on weekends, and we are slowly accomplishing goals each year as we progress in the property.
Yep.
So that's pretty much caught up to 21.
Yep. So that ends up bringing us to the winter of 21. My daughter, she kept on looking at our videos going, you know, why are you wasting your time on Facebook? And I'm like, what? This is whatever. You know, she wanted us to start using YouTube. We're like, you can't make one. What's the point in YouTube? So we started watching some different channels on YouTube and really started to like look into
channels.
It. Yeah. And we ended up finding Simple Life Reclaimed. We found Country Road Cure. We ended up finding It's All Grady. We ended up finding White Rock. We ended up finding Come On Mountain. We ended up finding Ridge Life. We ended up finding all these really amazing channels, and we're like, that's pretty dang cool. I want to do that too. So we ended up I started reworking all of the videos that I had gotten and tried to put them into order because I wasn't saving them, like they were just in my cloud and whatever. And I started making YouTube videos. So we started YouTube in 2022, which that was a lot of fun. We ended up buying a lot. Jason's really good at looking stuff up. We already went over that. But he ended up, he looks into auctions as well. And we ended up getting some really good deals on a few tools that we're going to end up, finally this year, I believe we're actually going to be utilizing them. But we bought them in 2022.
There's a few things I bought that year that was just a good deal. And I knew farther down the road we're going to use it a lot. And I'm like, purchase it now at this price.
Yeah.
And we've actually, that's kind of funny you say that, because like we've been really lucky over the years. Like we purchased new cars before the prices went up, the property before prices went up, equipment before prices went up, camper before price, like
everything has been.
It seems like everything we purchase when we like get ready and plan things out, we don't know that.
No.
Like, but we just have fallen in luck. I think the past 5 years on every major purchase we've made has been right before price influxes. So I don't know. Like I've always had a knack for stuff.
And that's why
like
we're
that.
fine with it taking as long as it is, because maybe that's the universe's way or God's way of putting us on the path where we're supposed to be.
Because we're doing it debt free.
To get it whatever way we're wanting to.
Yeah, because it's been all debt free up to this point, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's nice to shop for deals to keep
like one of them that we ended up getting on the auction was the shed.
Yep.
We've got, we've been utilizing that like, oh my gosh. Yep. We ended up utilizing the wood chipper we ended up buying that year. We got the air compressor that year.
Yep, to help maintain equipment, equipment hauler.
Yeah, we got the
that's became very useful in 22 and 23.
Yeah, 23 and 24.
Yeah, or 23 and 24, yeah.
Yeah.
Super useful those 2 years.
And then we ended, a really awesome thing that happened in 2022 is we got our address.
Yep, that was a big accomplishment. We actually have an address now for our property, so like it pops up on Google Maps now, and like it was kind of funny. First 2 years, if you wanted, like you had to like show people on a map, and like you couldn't just give them the address so they could drive to it. The address was 0. Yeah, so because it was literally considered vacant land, which it still kind of is now, but we have an address and a driveway at the road, so that was a pretty cool moment. We had an address.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
sometimes it's the little small things when you're doing all this by yourself that, you know, are cool moments, little small victories.
Yep. We ended up doing a lot of wood chipping in October of that year.
Yep.
We had, oh my gosh, that wood chipper, it's not for what the job that we were trying to make
scale.
it do.
It'll be definitely useful.
Down the road, yeah, it's going to be
for smaller projects. Some of the equipment we bought, we thought like, yes, this will be useful, and then we use it, and we're like, it's maybe not as big as we needed, or not as useful as we thought. Not going to speed up this process that we're in right now on the property.
Yep.
So there's some purchases, you know, you swing and miss on some things, but it wasn't a wasted purchase. It'll definitely be used for other things we have in mind.
Yep. And then we ended up, at the end of the year, we ended up having a visit from my son and granddaughter and his fiance.
Who we visited in Hawaii. They ended up coming back to Michigan.
Yep, for my middle child's wedding.
Yep.
So we ended up doing that in 2022.
That was cool. Some out-of-state visitors on our property.
Yeah, that was such a wonderful
22
year.
we did a lot more because at the end of 21 we picked out our clearing spot.
Yep.
And 22 we poke at it. You know, in between doing stuff on the property, visiting friends and family, you get work done. So there wasn't.
We had some kayak trips in there.
Yep.
There was lots of other things that we did besides just working, of course, because you have to have a life.
Yep.
But we did get a lot done in 2022. It was a very productive year. I think it was
using
really
the tractor a lot in 22 to widen the driveway.
He was learning.
Because only come up here on the weekends, you only get like a day to use it, and then it's like sometimes a couple weeks before we come up here again, and then I use it for another day. I've used equipment throughout my career in construction and automotive, so I was comfortable behind sticks on stuff, but like you have to learn each piece of equipment, learn the limitations. I knew it was a 50-year-old tractor. It's not like a piece of junk or anything, but like it does have limitations being that old. I don't want to stress it out and break it. I do want to have longevity with it and use it for a multitude of things, so trying not to kill that right away and get used to it and not break it was kind of a little slow journey, but like I'm pretty comfortable on it now over the years.
Yep.
So like using the tractor that year was pretty helpful in the driveway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that year was
hold some stumps with
a
it.
really big learning year for me too with YouTube, because like the videos that, well, Jason ended up being banned from doing any videography, which there are a few of them still
early
available.
Videos of 22.
Yeah.
You'll see our videography's not the best. It's still done on cell phones. Holding the camera still and whipping it around and walking and bouncing. Like, we're super new to YouTube at that point.
And when I was doing all the editing and everything, my parents, they were like a major help with watching videos and seeing, they'd give feedback. My dad, he watches every
Friends
one
and family
of them.
would give us feedback in the beginning, because we're all proud, like, oh, check out our YouTube videos, we're dropping YouTube videos.
And they'd be like, oh, I about got sick.
We're like,
it's too jumpy, it's too this, it's too that.
It's kind of grainy, it's not very clear, so 22 is a big learning curve for us in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We learned a lot of do's and don'ts.
Yeah. And it ended up to where I learned a lot. And I ended up learning that you have to put that sideways to get it on there to where you're not having the black on both sides. I mean, there's just silly, stupid things that you don't even realize you need to learn. And I ended up, at that point, I started talking to Mel from Simple Life Reclaimed. I talked to her a few times through messages and was getting feedback from her on how to do things a little bit, and she actually helped me out quite a bit and made it to where I changed things up, and that brings us into 2023.
Yep. So that leads us into 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So that year, after kind of, I guess, learning and taking our lumps in 22 on YouTube, we decided that if we wanted to take this thing seriously, which that kind of parlays into like the type of people we were growing up, being in the military, like I heard like...
You might fall down, but you get back up.
Yep, and then like if you're going to do something...
do it right.
If you're not going to do it right the first time, don't do it at all. Mm-hmm. Type of mentality, and, never give up, and, learn from your mistakes, and,
Yeah.
So
and his research, the way that he does it.
So I researched, and she's been talking to Mel, and we've been following channels more and kind of picking up things they're doing, and we're realizing, like, okay, we need to, if we're going to do this serious, we need to invest a little money in the equipment. Mm-hmm. We need to get a better laptop. We need to get some better editing.
Well, get a laptop.
Yep. Like, we had a laptop, but it was kind of old, and it's like, it wasn't going to run
Hadn't used it in years.
Yeah.
Had no memory.
Yep. So we're like, all right, let's get a new laptop. Let's get some new editing programs that can, do the editing that we need to do, and that's kind of...
And a camera.
Yep. And then we upgraded a camera. We figured, let's invest some money. Mm-hmm. So 2023, to start that winter, we saved money. We invested in equipment for YouTube, and we're like, let's take 23 and kind of invest seriously in the YouTube, and let's up our game, pretty much. Mm-hmm. If we're going to give this a shot, let's do it the right way. So we did that. Again, learning curve, new equipment. At this point in 22, we're realizing if we're going to take this and do YouTube, she's going to be behind the camera more, and I'm going to have to do more of the work.
Yep.
So in a lot of the early videos, it's just a camera setup and us doing work.
Yep.
And
then
not
I
a lot
realized
of
I
interaction.
needed to utilize, because when I was a photographer, then I ended up meeting Denise from over at It's All Grady too.
It was another one of the channels
and she was
talking
helping with my editing stuff as well.
Yep.
And she was talking about how, if you just let it sit there, that's boring.
Yep.
So I couldn't just set up the camera and go help him work anymore. Now I had to follow him around and get the different shots of what we were doing, and then have, like, if he definitely needed my help, then I had to set it off over to the side. But for the most part, now all the work's on him.
Yep, I'm doing a lot of the work, you know. So we're changing
roles.
We're changing roles in the property. We're having to learn how to do it in the YouTube way, you know. So it's not as much just get work done.
Yeah.
Now it's like, let's plan a little more. Let's, you know, what are our projects this weekend? We got to make sure we get good footage, you know. So that kind of changes the way you progress in the property and the speeds at which you do things. But I'm like, if we're gonna do the YouTube thing, let's do it right.
Yep.
You know, so we're transitioning this year and learning all that stuff. As far as projects go on the property, was a big year for us because we ended up making a check on the water. So that was a big thing, that over the first 2 years in the property, we're having to go to her parents, fill up 5-gallon jugs, 6-gallon jugs, camper, you know, storage, water storage, spend time filling up the jugs, carting them over here, pouring it in the RV and using the tanks. And like, it was nice being able to be self-sufficient in the property, but I always hated having to take that time to do it. It was a chore that I knew.
It was heavy.
Yeah, it was a chore that I knew was wasting time. I did not like doing, and there was a better way to do it. So we ended up upgrading with a 55-gallon drum behind the RV that I turned into water storage for a few years, and that worked out well because I doubled our water storage capacity, have the trips over to her parents to keep water on the property. So that was cool. But this year I was like, you know what? Let's take a shot at drilling our own shallow well. Let's see if we can do this by hand.
Yep. And my grandpa had done it with the dowsing rods, and he had...
I seen her grandpa and parents use old school dowsing rods, mark spots, hand drill a well with the shallow well pipe and a shallow well point, sand point, and use an old pitcher pump and get water. And I was like, you know what? I was like, why don't we try it? So I did some research. I bought the parts, and we had a swing and miss on the first attempt.
Which was fine. We did it too close to a tree.
Live and learn. Second attempt went much better, and we ended up hitting water, and we now have our own free water source in the property. So that was a pretty huge accomplishment for 23.
Huge.
So that was pretty cool.
And then our friendships with It's All Grady ended up getting so much bigger. And over at White Rock too. And we ended up 4th of July.
Our YouTube channel's starting to take off a little bit. We're starting to get followers. We're starting to, you know, see like, our hard work starting to pay off a little bit.
It was what, we were in the hundreds.
Yeah, we're definitely still down in the hundreds. Now we're still at this point today. We're still not like some huge YouTube channel. No. But like, we're starting to see growth, and we're like, hey, our efforts are paying off at this point.
Yeah, why not?
And our relationships are growing with these channels that we followed at this point for a year or two.
And we wanted to be able to meet them, so we ended up taking a trip.
Down to Arkansas for the summer.
And we got to meet them.
We took a 10-day trip down there.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun. We got to spend their birthdays, because Jason's birthday's in the beginning of June, and Denise is at the end of June. So it was kind of like a birthday party kind of a thing. Well, it was a birthday party for her. And we got to hang out. And then that
yearly 10-day trip we usually take to the property, we took 4 days out of the beginning of it, went down to Arkansas. We actually met some other YouTube channels, went to some YouTube meetups, you know, not formulated, but like grew those friendships that we had and actually met in person. We actually met our first subscribers that like came up to us and like recognized us, so that was kind of a cool moment.
That was pretty nice. It was like,
that was different.
And then they ended up making a channel too.
So that was a pretty cool trip down there. We learned a lot, met a lot of friends, had a great experience. We had never been to that area, so it was pretty cool to see that area, be down in the Ozarks. Very cool.
Yeah, and that's the same year that we took down that huge tree.
So we come back from that trip, and then we're still doing the weekend thing, and we're basically working really hard on getting that clearing going, because at this point we have our campsite set up. We now have water. We have power with our generator. We eventually want to go solar, because we don't have power yet on the property. So we just run off a generator right now, which is kind of noisy, but we've kind of created, we have it worked out pretty good now. It's not too much of a nuisance. It's been working well for us, but we do eventually need to upgrade that to be more self-sufficient with solar. But we've just focused on clearing work, because at this point we can't do much else except get a clearing going so we can start on our structures, start on our septic, start on eventually getting a well sunk down there. But we need to get a clearing opened up in those woods, and we've been pecking away at it for a couple years now. And we made some serious strides in the property clearing that year. We did a few RV upgrades on the interior, made it a little more homey, did a few things we've been talking about.
Put some shelves up.
Maintained it, because we have to stay in this for some years, so that was focus on 23, was doing some RV upgrades. And then we, at the end of the year, we found out that one of our subscribers reached out to us, who lives in the area, actually, and she had actually been friends with him prior to the channel, knew him earlier in life, and he suggested that there's a brush pile area that we can dump all of our brush at, like local residents. So we're like, what? So we ended up using that trailer we invested in. Comes out huge in 23 because now we start filling up all of the clearing that we had been dropping all the trees. We had just been stacking it up because we didn't know what to do with it.
But this was actually, we started doing that only because there was no snow.
Yeah, like the winter had it not hit that year. It was one of those late winters where our seasons kind of fluctuate up here. So we're at the end of the year and we're like, man, usually
we're up here anyways. We're like,
usually we're shut out by this time. And we're like, man, we still got things to do. You know, we had dropped a lot of trees. And we're like, man, we have to start dealing with these piles because we're starting to back up on the piles. If we keep dropping trees, we're going to get overwhelmed with all this extra brush. So that's when he reaches out, lets us know on it, and we start making brush runs and start getting some of the stuff out of the clearing. So it starts opening up the clearing more and more.
Yep.
So 23 was a big year.
Yeah, and then after the trip to Arkansas too, we ended up having a huge influx with subscribers.
Yeah, that helped out huge with our channel. We saw a lot of growth that year. And I think in 23 wasn't that the year at the end of the year we got monetized at the very end of 23?
Yeah, it was November of 23 that we actually hit our 1,000.
Yep.
And we actually hit our
monetized.
Watch hours, and we became monetized.
So that 22 when we started to 23, all the growth, the investment, the learning curves, the lumps we took, it was all paying off because by the end of 23,
now we're monetized.
We had set a goal that we wanted to be monetized. We didn't really put a time frame on it, but it was just a channel goal that we set for ourselves. We're like, if we're going to do it, we want to be successful.
Yeah.
And at least get monetized.
Just,
you know, I feel like that's a baseline success rate for a YouTube channel. So we kind of set that goal and we achieved that in 23. So 23 was a pretty big year.
Pretty amazing.
Each year we're slowly pecking away. We're slowly making steps to get to where we want to be.
Yeah.
And this whole time we're working on getting debt free.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been a cool journey up to this point at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So a little side note backwards a little bit to 2022. My parents ended up finishing their house and they moved in, sold their place downstate, and they've been living there since then full time. Well, they decided at the beginning or at the end of 23 that they wanted to do a barn. So they started investigating into it. They ended up finding an Amish company that they hired to come over and do it. Well, they ended up having a family friend, Lee, come over and took the brush and everything and removed all of their stumps to get this barn build started. Well, they decided that they wanted to give us a little gift of hiring him to come over to our property to help us out with getting our stumps out of our clearing. So
they seen how hard we have been working.
Yep, and they wanted to help us out. So in return, they asked us to take all the brush out. So we ended up getting out our trailer and we went over and we stayed over there for the first 6 nights that we were up here.
2-3 weekends.
It's like 2 or 3. It was 3 weekends.
Yep.
3 weekends we came up and stayed over at their property and got rid of their brush, and then we started on our brush because we have a deadline now to get all of that brush out of there so that Lee could come over. So for 2024, the beginning of it, we've actually accomplished quite a bit already.
Yep.
We got the clearing totally clear of brush. Yep. My parents have got their extra barn that they're building with a loft on the top for guests to come and stay. They've got that started, which
they're ready for concrete at this point to pour the floor. They got the posts in and they're finalized for concrete drains in, so they're chugging along on that.
Yeah, so that's going on for 2024, and we got our camper just this weekend, wasn't it?
Yep.
Just last weekend we ended up getting.
Past 2 weekends we got everything finalized. We're opened up and living up here now on the property again for 24.
Yep, for our weekend stays up here, we've got everything all set up. So here in the next few weeks, we're going to be having our first ever paid person to work on the property, which we're going to add a little bit to what they're giving him to have him go down our driveway a little bit.
Yep.
Get some of those stumps out so we can widen
our
driveway.
Front of the driveway needs to be widened a little bit, and then he's going to pull a couple trees and stumps to widen it, straighten it a little bit, and then pull all our stumps in our clearing. and then we're a lot closer to build ready in that clearing, and then our driveway's a lot wider and straighter so that trucks can get in there, and then we're to the point where we can, you know, in the future here we'll go over future things, and then that will parlay into future projects.
Yeah, 2024 has been pretty crazy already.
So far, it's already in the year.
So he, and all of his investigative skills that he does, he ended up finding an 8x12 shed. It's a metal shed that we're going to go ahead and bring that up here in the future.
Yep.
And we're going to build that. That's going to be a future project here coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yep. So that, along with getting the clearing done, we're really already starting 2024.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yep.
So for our future projects coming up.
So with the future, I mean, we've gone over, we want to be debt free, we want to be off grid. We're basically gonna semi-retire, is what I'm gonna call it, on the property up here. Once we get the clearing to the point where it's build ready, where all the stumps are gone, it's flat, I'm gonna have to bring in a bunch of sand and build a base so we can build a barn. So we basically have an oval clearing, barn on one side, house on the other, and then we're kind of gonna have a driveway, maybe looping in between. Want to do the barn first is our goal, is to get the barn built first, get septic put in, get a well put in, so we have a better water source other than the shallow well. Shallow well works now for the campsite, but it's not gonna run a whole house. No. So we're gonna have to invest in an actual well, get solar up and running, and then make the barn livable so that we can park the RV inside it, insulate it, power, water, all that stuff. And then we can kind of live inside the RV inside the barn so that through the winters it's not as harsh. And then we can start building the home next to the barn. And I think we've kind of bounced around over the years on our plans, but I think we've settled on a barn dominium. Yep. We're pretty set on that.
It's going to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Yep, we like the style of it. It's something that we can build ourselves, because we want to do as much of this process ourselves as we can. Like she said, in 24 this year, we'll finally have the first person we paid to do work on our property. Over the build process, there's going to be other things we're going to have to pay for. But as much as we can keep between us, we'd like to. Yeah. We pride ourselves in hard work and doing things ourselves, so that'll be pretty cool. I think the semi-retire part about it, I think she'll still continue her dental career up north up here. Maybe work part-time in some offices in the area. I'll probably continue my automotive career at some like aspect or degree. Probably doing a few different little things. We also have a few passive income ideas we want to do on the property. So maybe Airbnbs up here, because the area we're in, we're right near ski resorts. We call it pure Michigan in Michigan, but a lot of skiing, kayaking, trail walking, awesome biking, scenery. Like there's a lot of outdoor stuff to do. So we're kind of in the area where we're really close to all the main things to do in northern Michigan, to where we could possibly generate some passive income with an Airbnb down the road, maybe build a tiny home on the front of the property near the main road. It's kind of maybe a end goal we have. After we're set up here, do something like that. Who knows where YouTube goes at that point. So that's why we want to say semi-retired, because we might still be dabbling in some things here and there to bring in some income. Yep. But if we set it up properly and do the debt-free thing like we want, do the off-grid thing we want, it should make cheap living a little easier, because we'll own everything. And because we want to do what? You want to grow a greenhouse?
Yeah, I want a greenhouse. I want to be able to, I love to paint. There's just so many different hobbies that I would love to be able to do. But
because we can sustain ourselves with some of the food she grows on the property, because we have a lot. Right now we already have a bunch of raspberries on the property that grow.
I want to get an orchard.
Yep. Downstate, at our home downstate, we do have like peach trees, we have strawberries, we got a giant cherry tree. We already do some of those self-sufficient things in a way on our own property, kind of dabbling in it, testing things out. Yeah. Seeing how it goes. We've been successful on small scales down there, so when we come up here, we like to scale that and do a little better, be a little more self-sufficient on those fronts. Yep.
So yeah, that's a bit of
That's kind of a basic synopsis of us, our journey so far.
Yep.
kind of future plans, who we are as people in a way, a little history of us, why we're doing what we're doing.
Yep.
We're enjoying it. We're loving every minute of it.
Yep. And a lot of this YouTube stuff is for, I mean, don't get me wrong, we want people to enjoy it too,
Yep.
but it's mostly just for us because we want to be able to look back and see where we came from.
Yep.
And the way that things are going right now with how I'm able to get these videos, they're really, I love the way that our home videos are turning
We're going to have,
out.
when we're done with the project and we're living up here and we're old and our grandkids may wonder about the property, we have like a whole video library of the
Yes.
whole journey of us building
Yep.
the property and all the things we did and us, you know, growing up in the process. And, you know,
And
so
we can be 80, 90 years old,
Yep.
hopefully get to 100, and
you never
we'll
know
be
when you
able
get
to look
older,
back on these.
you might forget things, and be able to show each other the videos of what you did might trigger memories, you know. So you never know how this could, you know, play on down the road. But like, we love the support. We love the subscribers. We've
Yep.
loved the journey, you know. But we're not
And we
in
totally
YouTube.
appreciate any members that we
100%.
have. We've
had a lot of support from a lot of different people
really
since even our year and a half, 2 year journey with our channel has been short, but we've had a lot of love and a lot of support, and we really appreciate that.
Yes.
But our whole goal with it is not to be successful and rich and a huge. We just are
We just
doing
wanna
it to document, and if that happens in the process, cool. If not, like,
That's okay too.
if we stay at this size and we never get big, like, we are 100% cool with that, because we're just doing it to document
Really to
it
document
and
what
share
we're doing.
and share the journey with whoever wants to
Yep.
join
And
in.
if we
and it's not
inspire
about,
somebody else,
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep, and inspiring other people could be very cool, which we already have. It's kind of cool. Some of the things that we've encountered on our journey that we didn't even think about has happened, you know, and it's been a cool process, and some surprises along the way have been pretty cool on the YouTube journey. So
Yeah.
we're not doing it to be rich and famous. We're not doing it to be popular. We're
No.
doing it just to show us, and whatever happens, happens with the journey.
Yep.
But we've enjoyed it a lot. We really have. It's made
And
us.
if we can do it, you can do it too.
Yep. We've actually grown, I think, closer together because
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed the whole process.
Mhm.
So, and it's been fun sharing it with you guys.
Yes, it has.
So,
So
we
yeah.
appreciate the support.
Yep. And if you do like what you're hearing,
Yep. And
Make
this is
sure
our
to
intro
like.
video, so we're going to have tons of videos that you can watch at this point now. I think we're over 200 videos with shorts and lives and
yep.
all sorts of stuff. So,
Yep.
if this is your first time watching us, I appreciate you hanging out this whole time and learning. And hopefully you can watch some of our videos. And we apologize for the beginning ones. They do get better.
Yeah, they do. So thank you for joining us,
Yep.
and we hope to see you again.
Thanks for watching A Michigan Life Above the 45th Parallel, guys.
Have a great day.
Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.